We're excited about the start of the season, as I think most athletes, most coaches, most programs are, to get things underway. Fall camp I think was very beneficial for us. We have somewhat of an experienced ball club coming into fall camp, coming into the season, and we're able to make some strides with these guys through the course of fall camp. So we're excited to see exactly where we are and how much improving we have to do, and see how our guys are going to respond to another season. Our whole purpose was to try to get through fall camp and get as accurate as we can an evaluation of those guys, and not do anything too premature. And Coach Isfording has been really grading and monitoring basically every move they make, and so we will go with a decision tomorrow. Both guys will play. They both have showed ability to lead this football team. I think they've shown improvement as we've gone through fall camp, and so it'll continue to be a situation where we feel we have two quarterbacks ready to play that are experienced quarterbacks. Greg Wyndham really had a good fall camp. He threw himself into the mix, but as we get very close to the first game, it'll be one of the two more experienced guys that will be starting for us. There really are several things that you look for. Obviously, a skill set is a huge part of that, but to start off with, you look for a guy that's got leadership ability, going to be able to take this football team, and when things aren't going well on drives, when things aren't going well in the first quarter or going well throughout the course of the game, has the ability to have a positive impact on his football team. And so that's huge. The skill set is also huge. Obviously, you got to be able to throw the ball and throw it with accuracy. You've got to have some consistency about you in every phase of the game, but obviously in the pass and attack, if you're going to be a 51% thrower, you probably oughtn't to throw very much, and so we, in wanting to run our complete package, we want guys to be up there in the passing percentage. We want guys that are able to take care of the football. It's not going to do us any good if we throw 3 passes in a game and for TDs and throw 3 interceptions in a game. And so the ability to make big and explosive plays, we want with that position. That's both in the passing game and the running game. A guy that's mature and is able to handle pass rushes. It's one thing to be able to be a guy that completes a high percentage of passes on 7-on-7 when you don't have anybody bearing down on you. It's something else to be able to do it in game situations, and so we look at that. We look at the 2 scrimmages that we've had. Look at those very hard, and I think both guys have made very good progress along those lines, and so we're anxious to see them both under fire.
You mentioned both guys will play. Is that something that's going to persist week to week, both guys playing?
It could for a few weeks. It could be something that will unfold to where we want to do that throughout the season. It could be a one-game deal. We're not stepping out there too far in terms of what how we're really going to do things. We'll see how the first half goes. We'll see how the first game goes, and that will start to determine things for us. Not really. All our quarterbacks have been working with all our receivers throughout spring ball, throughout fall camp, So they have a ton of work together. And, I think the question comes back to timing and the running of routes and the ball being released on time and knowing where the receiver's going to be. And I think we have a good group of receivers, and I think, we've developed that part of the game through spring ball and fall camp to where any one of our quarterbacks could step in and feel comfortable with the receivers we have. Obviously, the more you run your quarterback, the more vulnerable he becomes. But the way guys coach their quarterbacks in their running anymore, it's not any more dangerous than dropping back 40 times a game and having that pass rush come in and getting hit as you're releasing the ball. There's no matter what style of quarterback you are, just like any player out on the field. I mean, it's a game. It's a physical game. It's a game of contact. At times, guys are going to get hurt, and we understand that. If you the more quarterbacks you have prepared to play, the better off you are as you go through a season, regardless of the style of offense you're running. Yeah, definitely. They'll be an improved football team. I'm second year under coach, right? Third year under coach, and usually as a coach starts to embed himself in a program, it continues to show, and I'm sure it'll show this year for those guys. They've got a good deal of guys returning on both sides of the ball, several playmakers, and so I expect that we'll face a better football team than what we did at the start of last season. We should be better, and so I think it'll be a very good ball game. The atmosphere there will be that of an indoor game. There's a great deal of travel involved. As I look at their schedule, no one travels more than they do, in terms of distance. I think they had games in maybe the Eastern time zone 4 different times last year, if I'm not mistaken. And so, that's part of the game for everybody. For those guys, it seems to be a little bit more part of it. And so this will be a huge trip for us. We're looking forward to it, think we've got it planned out well. Have certainly visited with other coaches and looked at how things have been planned out in terms of when you get there. Do you stay on East Coast time, which is my feeling you do, in that short period of time that you're there. So we looked at several things. So it should be very interesting trip for us in that regard. Well, the fact that it's an indoor facility, I think will be a plus. And I don't know what the situation is up there. Did get a call from my son who lives in Boise, Idaho, and keeps track of all that up there and reports to me. So, and I think it varies from day to day in terms of how much smoke is in the different areas up there, and so we'll just see what it is when we get there. You've always got to be ready to adjust on road games, no matter what. If you're not a coach, if you're not a team that's able to make adjustments when things don't go right on away games, you're not going to have a very good football team in terms of playing away games. And so we let it all, bring it all on. We feel we're going to be the kind of football team that no matter what we face as we go on the road traveling, that we'll be able to handle it. If you never play games in the sport of football, I don't know if you get many guys out. It's the practice part of it is not necessarily the fun part of it, but obviously every player knows how critical it is to have a good spring ball, to have a good fall camp, and The old phrase of, you play as you practice, to a degree is somewhat true. If you don't improve, if you don't work on improving through spring ball, fall camp, you don't become a better football team, then you're wasting your time. And so everybody knows the importance of practice, but everybody wants to play the games. So we're delighted that the game time is about on us. We expect that there'll be a different front that we'll be facing. They were a 4-man front most of the time last year. Now they're a 3-man front, an odd man look, a 3-4 versus a 4-3. And it, looking at their personnel, it probably fits their personnel pretty well. They have, I think, 3 of the 4 linebackers back, and they have their entire defensive starting line back, 3 of their starters back. So, it probably fits them well, and it's tough to prepare for because for most of spring we've worked on a 4-man defensive front. Through a good share of fall, you work on that, and then obviously there's a point in time where that's got to switch over, and you've got to start zeroing in on your opponent. And so we've had work on the 3-4 schemes. You're capable of doing a lot of blitzing and coming with a lot of different blitz out of that. So we're anticipating that very well could be the case. So we've worked very hard on that, and we're continuing to work hard on that with our final preparations. Their fullback's coming back. He's a pretty big brute, and so they'll line up and they'll run a true eye kind of formation at times, 2 tight ends, flanker, and they'll come downhill at you, and obviously that promotes toughness within your program, and so I believe that they've worked hard at being able to do both, being a good running and a good throwing team. I think they have the personnel to be both. I'm impressed with their quarterback. He for a young player last year, he performed really extremely well, and he's capable of beating you through the air. And they're capable of lining up, and if you can't stop the run, just pound you. And so we've got to show ability to be able to do both, stop the run and the pass, and we got to be able to do it for 4 quarters. They've shown at home especially the ability to come back when they're behind in the first half by a considerable margin. They still play 4 quarters, and they come back, and that's a tribute to their coach and coaching staff. And so we'll be in for a 4-quarter ball game. It does. So when we do get there, we're going to get there early enough that that we can spend some time in the dome and make sure that we get a little bit of practice actually in. I mean, it won't be a demanding practice, but you're going to have to catch a fair ton of punts, kickoffs. You're going to have to throw the ball to your receivers. They're going to have to run some routes and catch the ball because your sight angles are going to be different. And and I have talked to Coach Clausen, who while at Bowling Green took his teams up there a couple times at least, and so it will be a little different for us. The fact that we do have an indoor, I think, is helping us in that. For instance, today and the rest of the time will basically be indoors, and we've had a fair number of indoor practices this fall camp leading up to this game, just to get used to having walls around you and a top covering you, and so hopefully it won't be too much of a drastic change for us. I think we've taken the preparation that we need to take to hopefully play well. I think he's done an excellent job with them. Obviously, the timing of it was not easy for the players, was not easy for Anthony, was not easy for our staff. But he's a bright guy, and certainly a guy that's even-keeled, to where players, I think, can adjust to very easily. They know that the same Anthony will show up day after day after day, and I think that's huge when you hire someone somewhat late in the process like we did there. I think he's a skilled corner coach. Played the position. Has been in a pro camp, so he's been around other players, coaches that know what they're doing. Comes from a good program at Indiana State, and so we were delighted to be able to have that quality of a hire so late, and he's proven to be an excellent coach. We've already changed to some degree what we're doing with our in snapping the ball and trying to get all 11 guys on the same page. And obviously, being in the shotgun like we are all the time over the last so many years now, has enabled us to work a lot on. You have to work a lot on your when you're going to snap the ball. I say cadence half the time. There's not even a cadence involved, and so then the fact that we're indoors now, we're going to have the sound system really cranked up to make it almost impossible to actually hear the cadence or get them used to crowd noise, and so I think we'll be ready to handle that. Obviously you got to show up and you got to do it, but we're preparing well for it. Our guys, have been in tough situations before when it comes to crowd noise, and we have not, that I can recall, had a major problem with it. So I think we'll be able to respond to that pretty well. No, when you're in a dome in the latter part of the year, you're in a dome with another really good football team, and so that's a factor. I don't, I've never even given it any thought. In my mind, it's 11 guys against 11 guys on a football field. We are practicing inside now, which is a huge help. We've never been able to practice inside and actually prepare for bowl games before, or a championship game, MAC championship game, inside, and so we have that ability now, and we think that is a huge help, and so I don't think that will be a problem. As far as cramping goes, you're always concerned about hydration and how you're working your guys out. I don't know that we can concentrate on it any more than what we do in terms of getting our guys hydrated properly. We're always talking to them about it. They cannot come to a meeting now without a bottle of water, and they need to drink that while they're in the meeting, and that in itself isn't going to get you hydrated, but it's a mindset that how important it is. There's so many articles and so many speakers out now that talk to you about how vital nutrition is, hydration is, sleep is, to being able to be on top of your game and be a great football player, to reach your potential. And if guys want to reach their potential, that comes across loud and clear to them. And so I think we have the ability to be a smart football team. I hope that we are. Obviously, it'll play itself out.